All right, let's jump in. We're going to travel way back in time to one of the most legendary and honestly, one of the toughest places you could ever imagine, ancient Sparta. And trust me, their world was a completely different planet compared to ours.
So welcome to Sparta. But really, what was it like? I want you to try and forget everything you think you know about what it's like to be a kid, because we're going to see what it was really like to grow up there.
So let me just ask you straight up. Could you survive in ancient Sparta? And I'm not kidding. This is a real question. Because for them, the test of survival started like the moment you were born.
Okay, just picture this for a second. It's your 7th birthday. But instead of cake and presents, you get packed up, you say goodbye to your family, and you're shipped off to a military camp. A really brutal one called the Agoge. That's where your real life began. You learned to fight, sure, but also to read and write and just survive. It was unbelievably tough, and the whole point was to turn you into the perfect Spartan soldier.
And believe it or not, the toughness started way before age 7. We're talking day 1. As soon as a baby was born, it was brought before a group called the Council of Elders, and they inspected it. I mean, they were literally checking for any tiny flaw, any sign of weakness. And if a baby didn't pass their inspection, if it wasn't seen as perfectly strong, it wasn't allowed to live. For them, every single person had to be a future asset to Sparta, no exceptions.
Okay, so you've got to be asking why, right? Why were they so incredibly tough? It just seems extreme. Well, there's a reason. The Spartans were hiding a massive secret, a huge fear that was at the heart of literally everything they did.
And the key to that secret is this number, 20. Just 20. What on earth could that mean? Well, it has everything to do with who really lived in Sparta and who held all the power.
And here it is. This is the big secret. For every one Spartan citizen, the people in charge, there were about 20 helots. The helots were basically a huge population of enslaved people who did all the real work, the farming, the building, everything. Just think about that ratio. The Spartans were outnumbered 20-1 in their own home.
So you see the problem, right? This was Sparta's biggest nightmare. They absolutely needed the helots to get anything done, to grow food, to function as a society. But at the same time, they were completely terrified of them. Can you imagine living every single day knowing you're surrounded by people who could, at any moment, rise up against you? That constant fear. That's the reason their entire society was a military machine. It was all about control.
So, who was actually running the show? Who made all these intense rules? Let's take a quick peek inside the Spartan government. It's kind of complicated, like having 4 different layers of bosses.
Okay, check this out. First, they had not 1, but 2 kings. Weird, right? You can think of them like co-captains of a sports team, mostly in charge of the army. Then you had the assembly. This was supposedly for all citizens over 20, and they got to vote on laws. Next up, the Council of Elders. 30 guys, all over 60 years old. They were kind of like the Supreme Court, suggesting laws and acting as judges. And finally, you have these 5 elected guys called ephors. They were the real nuts and bolts managers, running the city every day.
But, and this is a big but, when they said all citizens could be in the assembly, they didn't mean, everybody. Not even close. To be a citizen and have any say at all, you had to be an aristocrat, one of the rich nobles. So in reality, only a tiny group of powerful families were actually making the decisions.
All right, let's zoom out for a minute. Because Sparta wasn't just a city in the way we think of one. It was something the ancient Greeks called a polis. And to really understand Sparta, or any Greek city, really, you have to get what a polis is.
And a lot of what we know about this stuff comes from historical notes and records, kind of like what you're seeing here. The polis, it was the absolute basic building block of their entire world.
So, what is a polis? Simple. It's a city-state. The best way to think of it is like its own tiny little country. You have the city itself, plus all the countryside around it, and that whole area had its own government, its own laws, its own army, everything. Sparta and Athens are the most famous ones, but there were tons of them all over Greece.
And most of these city-states have the same basic layout. You'd have a big hill, and on top of it, the Acropolis. That was the main fort for protection, and where they put their most important temples. Then, down at the bottom of the hill, you'd find the Agora. That was the big open-air marketplace, the heart of the city where everyone did their shopping and socialized.
Now, if you were lucky enough to be a citizen in one of these places, it was a huge deal. It came with rights, yeah, but also some major responsibilities. Your #1 loyalty was to the polis, not your family, not your friends, but your city. You were expected to be part of the government, and you absolutely had to fight for it. But again, it's super important to remember, most of the people living there, women, kids, and of course the enslaved people, they weren't considered citizens at all.
Okay, so now that we know what a polis is, and we know about their deep, dark secret about the helots, everything starts to click into place. You can see how all of it was pointing in one direction, towards one single, all-consuming goal.
And what was that one goal? To be strong, militarily strong. That's it. Everything else came second. Every law, every tradition, every single choice they made was designed to create the most powerful army possible.
And when I say everything, I mean everything. This focus meant they had to give up a ton. They were suspicious of new ideas because new ideas could be a weakness. They didn't even use coins for money. They used these big, clumsy iron rods just to make it hard to buy and sell stuff. You won't find any great Spartan plays or beautiful sculptures. And get this, the only people who were seen as worthy enough to get a gravestone were men who died in battle and women who died in childbirth, because in their eyes, both had given their lives for the state.
And if you want to know the Spartan mindset in a nutshell, it's this one famous, chilling phrase. Spartan mothers would say it to their sons and wives would say to their husbands as they marched off to war, "Come back with your shield or on it." It meant either you come back a winner, holding your shield, or you come back dead, carried home on top of it. Surrender wasn't an option. Ever.
So that leaves us with one last big question. I mean, the Spartans created this super strong, super stable society that lasted for hundreds of years. No doubt about it. But to do it, they gave up almost everything we think makes life worth living. Art, creativity, new ideas, freedom. So, was it worth it? What do you think?